If you've been struggling to find your own art style, you are not alone. In this video, I'm gonna share with you the 7 mistakes artists make when trying to find their art style. So, whether you're not sure how to get started or whether you're suffering from creator's block, these pitfalls can seriously slow you down. But don't worry, I'll also be giving you practical tips and insights to help you stay on track and discover a style that feels authentic and truly yours. Now you might be wondering, who is this person giving me this advice? Hey, my name is Bluu, and I've been a graphic designer for the last 16 years. And I've had the pleasure of working with incredible brands like Disney, Spotify, and Converse. But it wasn't until I learned to avoid these 7 mistakes, I was able to take my art style to the next level. And that brings me to our first mistake, forgetting the audience. So when I first started, I really thought that I can create whatever I wanted. And as long as I put it out there, people will be interested and they would want to buy it. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it never crossed my mind that if I wanted to sell my artwork to companies, to collectors, or to even grow a social media presence, I really need to figure out who my audience was. You see, the truth is not catering to the audience will leave you with nobody to sell to, nobody to follow your artwork, and nobody to really invest in what you're doing. All right, so one of the biggest problems with doing this is you might find yourself creating in a vacuum. All right, so think of it this way. Your artwork can be technically masterful, but if it doesn't resonate with anybody, it will be much, much harder to build a following. So why is considering your audience such a good idea? Figuring out your audience can help you to align your art with what they enjoy, and at the same time, you being true to your designs. So for example, I create artwork for people who are huge into sports, people who are sports fans. And when I did some research into the type of clothing, posters, and the collectibles that appeal to them, I came up with something very interesting. I started to see a pattern actually. The kind of art that the people were into were either bold, they were either graphic, they were sometimes realistic, or they were cartoonish. You see, this little bit of information has been huge towards me taking some of these elements and putting it into my own art style. And now people enjoy my artwork so much that I get pictures all the time of them going out their way to get it tattooed. You see, by understanding what your audience is drawn to, you can create artwork that speaks to them and also help you to stand out from the bunch. And now for our next mistake, I think is one that every artist does in the very beginning, and that's not seeking feedback. All right, so I totally get it. Putting your artwork out there for others to critique can feel pretty intimidating. And no one likes the idea of being judged, especially something as personal as their artwork. But here's the thing. Avoiding feedback can actually hold you back from reaching your full potential. When you don't share your artwork and you don't get input from others, you're missing out on valuable insights, and it's gonna feel like you're working blind. Like, you might think your artwork is communicating one thing, but the general audience is actually seeing it a totally different way. And this is especially true if you're only relying on social media interactions. And just a reminder, online comments, likes are not genuine feedback. Just keep that in mind. And that's because you have no idea who's behind the phone that's sharing their opinion with you. And that's why it's so important for you to put your artwork in front of real people. And it could be an art show, a craft fair, a convention, it doesn't matter. All those are great ways to get some feedback. Because at the end of the day, when you see how people interact with your artwork in person, helps you to understand what really resonates with them. And you'll quickly learn which parts of your style really stood out to them and which areas you might need to work on. Just keep in mind that this feedback is so important because this will help you to refine your style and help you to take your art to the next level. So before we jump into our next mistake, I just want to take a quick moment and remind you guys to please subscribe to the channel. Doing so helps to continue to grow this platform, which is dedicated to help artists like yourself to become as successful as possible in your art career. So if you're finding value in this content and want to keep improving your craft, hit that subscribe button and join our community. And for our third mistake, we have neglecting personal interests. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it is so easy to fall into the trap of creating artwork because you think it will sell or just copying whatever is trending at the time. In my opinion, this approach just leads to a dead end. You see, for a while, I found myself creating artwork that I just really didn't connect with. I was just trying to copy whatever I found that was trending. And I'm gonna be honest, I only did this because I thought this would help me to land design jobs. But instead, it had the opposite effect. So what ended up happening is it led to me having a body work that just felt disconjointed and all my designs looked like it was just all over the place. And that's because my portfolio work just didn't have a clear focus. In fact, I didn't get hired from potential clients or brands because They just didn't know what type of design they were going to get from me. But everything changed once I started to focus on things I was genuinely a fan of. You see, the more I infused my interest into my artwork, the more consistent my style became. And then all of a sudden, the right people started to find me. And I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. Doing this is what got me hired by Foot Locker. They saw my Secret Art Print series, they reached out, and they said, hey, Anderson, can you do this for us? So in my opinion, don't be afraid to explore your hobbies. Honestly, the weirder, the better. Because at the end of the day, doing this is what's gonna set you apart and also give you a unique voice. Now, this next mistake is a huge one, and that's not studying your influences. So skipping this step can really slow down your creative journey. You see, without studying the work of an artist you admire, you can find yourself creating with no direction, or even worse, just going down some dead ends. All right, so why is influences so important? So here's the deal. When you start to analyze what you love about other artists, you start to realize what are some of the things they do that you really connect with or that you really like. Are you a fan of the colors they use, or how about maybe you're a fan of some of the effects or the textures that they use for their artwork, or maybe it's just the composition that they put together. So for an example, I am a huge fan of Looney Tunes, but as a kid, I wouldn't really be able to tell you why. But after doing some research and really analyzing what I really enjoyed about it, I started to realize something. It's one of the things I enjoyed the most about Looney Tunes is their bold line work. In fact, I loved it so much, I tried to find my own way to put it into my artwork. And to this day, if you look at my artwork, you will see a hint of Looney Tunes in there. So you see, by identifying what elements you really enjoy, you can start to take those same elements into your artwork and put your own flair to it. And I promise you, if you do this consistently, you'll start to see your own art style start to flourish. But, so we're on the same page, studying your influences is not the same as copying. Just think of it more about understanding. So let's think of it this way. We're gonna break down what makes our artwork successful, and then we're gonna use that to build a strong foundation for our own style. And just keep in mind, by doing this will definitely help speed up your art journey process. Or should I say your art style journey. And next up on our list is only creating whatever's trending. All right, so here's the deal. I know it's so tempting to just do whatever's trending, just with the hopes that it'll help you get more sales or just to get more followers on social media. However, relying on popular trends could actually backfire and make your work look pretty dated. And instead of standing out, what will probably happen is your artwork will blend in with everybody else, and you'll lose the opportunity to create something that's truly unique and something that can stand the test of time. And just so you know, I've been there myself. There was a time early in my career when I was creating artwork, I was just only focusing on creating whatever was trending, whatever was popular. And I did this because I thought it would help my artwork get seen or help me to be relevant. But in reality, I quickly learned that this actually had the opposite effect. All right, so for starters, it definitely slowed down my creative growth. And I'm sure that it also cost me from working with bigger brands. And in some cases, I got turned down from craft shows because they felt like my designs or my artwork just wasn't a good fit for the event. But here's the thing. All that changed once I stopped trying to follow the trends and started to focus on what made me different. You see, I began to focus on my audience, and I said to myself, what really sets me apart from everybody else? And instead of trying to fit into an existing market, I decided to go with the blue ocean strategy. So for those who don't know, the blue ocean strategy is when you service an untapped market where there's no competition. So instead of fighting over an existing crowded market, an artist should look to create something unique to an underserved market with the hope to create a new demand. And for a quick example, I'll talk about one of my art series that have been really successful. And that's when I created artwork for sneakerheads. I did this because I knew, because I'm a sneakerhead, that people who are into sneakers, sometimes they love it so much that they also want the artwork to go with the sneakers, or sometimes they couldn't get the sneakers, so they wanted the artwork to represent that piece in sneaker history. And in turn, because I did this, I created a new demand that people didn't know existed. You see, by showing what made my art unique, I was able to build a style that I connected with and also my audience at the same time. So our next mistake is one that most artists don't talk about, but I think this one is super important, and that's not experimenting with new techniques. So I'm not gonna lie to you, it is so easy to get comfortable with just using one medium, but sticking to what you know can actually limit your creativity or stifle your growth. Now, when I first started, I definitely fell into this trap. I was so focused on being a graphic designer and creating digital artwork, I never ventured out and tried anything new. And as a result, everything I created stayed in the boundaries of my knowledge of the program. So what ended up happening, my style ended up staying the same because I was too scared to venture out and try something new. Now, however, that all changed when I decided to try new mediums. I decided to try my hand at creating landscapes. I decided to learn how to paint on canvas. You see, trying these techniques has opened my eyes to brand new possibilities of little things I can add to my art style. Now, what was really interesting is how I took some of the things I learned into my digital artwork. And little did I know that doing a little bit of experimenting helped my art style to grow in ways that I never even imagined. So if you're ever feeling stuck or uninspired, I highly suggest for you to step outside your comfort zone and just try something new. And sometimes the key to find your own style is just being okay with experimenting and just seeing where it takes you. Now for our last mistake, I think it's one that all artists have dealt with from time to time, and that's expecting instant results. So it's easy to become impatient with the process, especially when you're following artists that feel like they have it all figured out. But just a heads up, impatience can quickly lead to frustration. And what usually happens is artists usually give up before they even have a chance to develop their style. And why do I know this? Oh, it's simple, because it almost happened to me. And thank God I decided to stick it out. And I'll share with you guys a little secret of what I did. And one of the best things I did during this process was I created one art piece per month. And when I was all done with the poster, I would take it to different art events and different conventions, and I would put it out there for feedback and see what people thought. And during that day, I took mental notes on what people really enjoyed about the art piece, what they didn't like, and what really stood out to them. And then when the next print came around, I took all the good feedback and I tried to take some of that into the next design. So fast forward, after a year, I had 12 pieces, and then something pretty crazy happened. You see, the designs got better and better as the months went on, and I started to realize my style became more and more consistent with every art piece. So in a nutshell, pretty much what I'm saying is, instead of focusing how fast you can get to your destination, just try to enjoy the process. So if you're looking to learn more on how you can take your art career to the next level, please sign up to my email list below in the description. I am currently working on a course for you guys, for the working artists that are looking to take their art career to the next level. But if you're still feeling stuck and you want another video to help you along your journey, you can watch this one right here.